Hi, Linda. Hi, everyone.
Hi everyone.
Good to be
I
with
was
you
just
again.
telling poor Andre, is like, whatever, got the violin out. I had a day from hell today. I've been on the phone or down at Xfinity all day trying to figure out. I can no longer look on my phone to see Grindle. In fact, that's where you send your links. It's grindle9103 at gmail.com. I mean, not Gmail, at comcast.com. I can no longer, there's some way you can do it. I haven't figured it out. They tried to talk me into buying something else, and I said, no, see ya. Um, and then I did at Costco, I did buy a little iPad. It wasn't very much, but it's just for Wi-Fi, so I can check my emails when I'm on the road. Like I'll be on the road Monday to see Dennis and Julie up in Arizona. And we're
Nice.
going to go up to um, Grand Canyon.
Mm,
Never been
nice.
there. So we're going to check for UFOs. So if I don't come back, you guys, I was taken. So,
We'll have to call Liam Neeson. She's been taken, so he can call in and threaten them
oh yeah, she's been taken. Did you
with
see
something.
that movie he's in? The new Naked Gun?
No, I've heard about it, but I haven't seen that.
It's
But I'm sure
kind of
it's funny.
silly. I wouldn't pay any money to watch it, but I watched it. It was free. And I actually laughed out loud a couple of times.
Huh. Yeah, yeah. So I came back from my European trip, and I
You were in Europe?
I was in Europe. Well, I was in Europe and I was in Canada too, because I have family in
Oh,
Europe
that's
and
right.
Spain, and then I have family in Canada. And in both places, because I told people on my channel that I would report on this, in both places, people are really down on the US, because of Trump. They're just really,
They're
really
saying it
down.
out loud?
Oh, totally. Well, not just what's really problematic is you hear it from people there, anything from, thumbs down to mocking. Like one person, I was on a bus, I was going to a museum in Spain, and the person, I forget how we talked about something, and this woman says to me, she says, here we say that whenever Trump opens his mouth, the price of bread goes up. So they're linking him to not just inflation here, but inflation there. And I also heard about people in the investing community talking to Spanish, French, and German investors in defense type of equipment and stocks, and they're totally pulling away from the U.S. And one of the things with this era we're in is Trump is going, you got to solve your own military problems. Well, is it really a good idea to arm Germany?
Yeah.
Because this person said the Germans are scary the way they think. It's almost like they're aching for having
Yeah.
all that power back. And so, yeah, let's just say it's really a complicated time we're in. But in case people, start to think of throwing blame around, remember that in the bigger picture, this was due to happen because we are in these cycles that happen every 80 years, right? Where you get moments when they're not moments, I mean, they're years of major change in the world. And one of them is, and this is verified historically, the Neptune cycle, which in the 1860s, I researched this and it kind of surprised me because in the 1860s, we had the Civil War here. So
Mhm.
my question was, were there, countries around the world arming themselves militarily? They said, yes, that decade was one of the worst, where in Europe, especially, all these different countries started to arm themselves. So you're getting the same thing now, 165 years later. And it's because of Trump in a way, but a lot of these patterns were happening already. So we're in a kind of a world situation where everybody's going toward themselves. And this is what Aries is the most, it's the sign of self, literally, right? So it's
Yeah.
explained by that. Like Libra, for example, is the sign of the other. And Neptune was in Libra. And that's when in the Second World War, it's the good counterpoint because Neptune and Libra, that forms alliances, right? That's how we had the Allies to fight the Nazis, right? But if you go back 160 when Neptune was in Aries, this very same thing happened. So we just have to be patient. It's just a period where things are realigning, and that's just the way it is. It would have happened in some way, no matter what. Because of those big cycles. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the stock market keeps going up. It jumped down for a second, and then I was like, okay, here we go. And then it just keeps, like today, I just looked, Dow Jones is up to 238, NASDAQ is 117.
Yeah, I don't expect it to go up through
I know that
2026.
doesn't determine what's going on, but they
No,
say the dollar is losing value big time.
it is, and it definitely is. You know how I can tell you? Because the last time I was in Europe, they were almost on par, and now you lose compared to the euro. That's how you know that it's lower. You lose a
Yeah, the euro is only worth $1.16.
Right, you lose some. So, but no, it's not my expertise at all. My sense of the market in 2026 is at best it'll flatline. And if anything, it'll probably drop some, because common sense tells you that as these tariffs get more and more of a grip, it'll become more and more of a problem. And then the market, because the market, by the way, is overvalued at the moment.
Obviously.
Everything is trading at really high multiples, and a lot of what is going on is the AI revolution. A lot of those stocks are driving the market up, but the AI progress is not as fast as they say, because a lot of that came from AI salespeople. Oh yeah, put money in, and everybody dove in. It's not going to hold up as well.
Well, they're saying those Bitcoins or whatever Trump put out when he first became president, everybody lost all their money.
Well, Bitcoin is really risky. Bitcoin, you can make money, but it's like when you're in a pyramid scheme, and if you jump out at the right time, you're okay. But if there's ever something, it could drop dramatically, because there's no inherent underneath value. It's just whatever people agree to pay, right? So it's a little bit like when you were back in the day, people were paying a ton of money for tulips in Holland, until one day they decided, well, they're not worth anything. And they went to, because they weren't, right? It was just like an invented thing that people got their head into. And Bitcoin is not quite, let's say, not quite as tulipy, but it's dangerous. That's why you see those huge oscillations. Every so often, boom, you'll get a huge drop. So Trump has gazillions of dollars in Bitcoin, but that doesn't mean he's gonna eventually use them either.
Most of it, right? He sold it as soon as he could, because he knew it was going to drop.
Yeah, and that, by the way, I continue to say it's the least of his problems. People keep, I hear these comments all the time, because they'll say, yeah, you keep talking about his health, but look, looks totally normal. He went to the Middle East. He's not normal. This guy his energy is dropping. By the way, you can tell just by feel the flow of media. And I've noticed in the last 2 to 3 weeks, all these videos talking about his health. Why? Right? Different people focusing. They see this, they see that. And you can see, because he'll be pretty clear in one point. And the next thing you know, he's forgetful. He dozes off. He goes off on tangents. Not to mention, you've seen his ankles. You've seen the rest. Oh, and by the way, he's doing annual checks every few months now. That's a little weird.
Yeah. But they're right. They're lying. They're lying to the American people. Oh, he's in great shape. Yeah. Everybody deliberately lies. Like that boat they hit in the Caribbean, the Navy has the 2 survivors. You better believe we're never going to find out from those survivors that they weren't drug traffickers.
No, for sure.
But it's not only because the president, but did you notice a general stepped down after that? He didn't appreciate Trump ordering that boat to be shot up.
Yeah, which is another thing that people should always keep in mind about this constant thing about the military and the threat that he could turn the military on like in a big way, because he's already doing it in small ways, but in a big way, it's a big risk to him too, especially with the kind of chart that he has. Whenever you see a person where Saturn is moving in, you take chances when you take a risk and you don't cover all your bases, because the military is a big outfit. Controlling it and getting it to do exactly what you want it to do is not an easy thing, especially when they hate you. And this guy, Hegseth and Trump, they went over there to insult him. Like, if you're going to get people to do things for you and then you're calling them obese and you're calling them stupid, that might not be a
Well,
good
yeah,
idea,
there
right?
wasn't a
So,
cracked smile in that whole group.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
They
So,
sat there, and the JAG was in there too. And by the way, I've told people, and I don't know if I told you on your last show, and I'm sure you've read this already, that Hedgehog was going to have the top army boots on the ground go to Oregon, to Portland, Oregon. He was going to have this elite group of military to go there to sort things out. And Jag told him, no effing way, because it goes against some fancy name. Maybe you know it. And it's not going to happen.
yeah, doesn't surprise
You
me.
cannot, it was from 17 something. The military cannot go against the American citizen.
Oh, that thing they passed. Yeah, the I forget the name. I know
I
what you
know,
mean.
yeah,
We're
it's, but
both blanking out.
it's law. And you know what? He never said another word about it.
Yeah, yeah, no. And I'm looking at, in fact, I think I said that, I'm sure I said it. I know I said it a while back. I don't think I've said it recently, though. I should make another video again to remind people. Because Hegseth he's got just now, and it's going to increase. It's going to increase even worse in December. He's got major pressure on one of his planets. So this guy, I'm telling you, he's going to step in it again. Just watch, because back in the spring, remember, he sent the signal thing. So at
Yeah.
minimum, he's not going to be popular at all. I don't know what the reasons are, but going into the new year,
But
no. And
he's
then
pissing
next
these
year,
generals off. And these guys, they got a little something under their belt too. They can figure out something.
oh, for sure, for sure. And this guy, as well as being in a really bad zone now, in like November, December, next year, he is in that group. They're like 7 or 8 in his cabinet that get a ton of Saturn. That's how you get, when you see that, it's a signal that it's just not going well overall, right? Because these guys are looking at the potential of being in a much worse place when you get into 27, if the
Yeah,
election, if even the House goes to the Democrats, right? So,
right.
yeah, so he's got problems. Like Trump says, he's going to go through some things.
But they say he's paranoid as hell. He paces, he's sure people are ratting on him. He's If you were in charge of these master generals, these people who have served the United States of America, and you're going to go over there and say, "Oh, no beards and you're too chubby." I don't want to see any of you coming down the hallway. And by the way, I didn't see one chubby one in the group. The only chubby one was Trump. But oh, you were going to do this. When you talk down to generals, oh, they will figure out a way.
Yeah, and by the way, building on what you just said, the paranoia is because what I heard is that he's getting a lot of leaking, which, by the way, is the way these guys operate, because Trump's is scorched earth, winner take all, including in his own group. He encourages them to fight. So then they knife each other, and one of the ways they knife each other is they leak. They tell the press, oh, so and so said this. So Hegseth demanded that the various outlets sign a paper, and they said no, including Fox News. So that's one of the reasons you see that the chart is working against him, because that's a major loss. He looked like a fool,
That's
right?
huge.
So now,
I couldn't believe it. They packed their stuff and they left.
yeah,
You got to
exactly. Well, they
clear it
should.
through me like he's a bigwig. Nobody cares about him.
No, 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 no. So yeah. So this guy is a definite indicator of the troubles that are coming up in the near and in the further term, which is good, because he's
And
he's
then the
actually one
key
of the
thing is
worst.
that Trump is telling Hamas, yeah, you better turn in your weapons. If you don't, we'll take them for you. Like he's backed by these fantastic Let me tell you, these poor military guys aren't getting paid right now. Where's their motivation to say, yeah, let me go risk my life for you?
No, and by the way, Trump is not gonna. I would be beyond amazed if the American military had anything to do with Gaza. That's Israel's problem. I mean, he can threaten all he
Yeah.
likes, but what is he gonna do? Is he gonna drop a bomb
Oh,
on
the
Gaza?
United, let me tell you, we would be up in arms if they sent our loved ones over to fight anything for Israel.
Nah, nah. That's a total loser. Like, remember that a lot of the things. This is one of the things for people to keep in mind. Trump, yes, he's doing some things. I'm not disputing that, but he says a lot of things, right? And then you look at maybe half, like I'm going to invade Greenland, I'm going to invade Panama, I'm going to invade Canada. None of that is happening. He just says
Oh,
those
I
things.
remember. Yeah, he was going to invade Canada. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah, of
Greenland.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So it's the same logic. And he was going to build a resort in Gaza. What happened to that? Remember?
They're still
That was like,
talking about it. That's
well,
why his son-in-law's over there. Oh,
yeah,
listen, they
sure.
can they're cleaning it up right now. They're trying to make, did you see all the Palestinians? There's millions of
There
Palestinians.
too. Well, it's not
And they
workable.
killed a lot of them, but they couldn't kill them all off. And let me tell you, these people, I had this hit. Honest to God, Andre. I was looking at all these skinny people coming back, looking at their shattered homes. And something in my back of my head said, at some point in time, even if Netanyahu's not there, they're going to do something. It might even be that after all the work Israel puts in, thinking they're going to kick, because I've seen videos of Israelis coming up and telling the Palestinians in their homes, leave, this is our house now.
Mhm.
But I see revenge, is what I see.
Wouldn't surprise me one bit. Yeah. I mean, I know he's aching for the Nobel Peace Prize and all that, but
Oh,
they're
he's
like,
never going to win one.
and they're these Pyrrhic victories. There's, I mean, like, what does it even mean? They have a ceasefire. One of the things I read is that Hamas is still there, and they immediately ordered the citizens to follow their rules. So, I mean, good luck with that. That part of the world is so incredibly complicated because they don't like
Uh,
each other at all. So
yeah,
yeah, it's a
there's
big
trouble.
problem.
There's still trouble brewing. But um, tell me about, Zelensky met with Trump today. Will he really give him those warheads or whatever he was going to give them?
Well, I framed this one and I've said this from the beginning. I said it at the beginning of this year. Zelensky has to just get to 2026, to about the spring, the energy start to change, and things become more and more complicated for Putin. He just has to last long enough. And I think now, whether or not he gets help from Trump, it's going to happen because with Trump, it'll get accelerated, but he's got enough help from Europe, so this is just a
Oh,
question
yeah.
of,
And, he's so full of crap. He always says, but he never goes against Putin. And you know what Putin's saying? Sure, I want peace. Give me all my land that I want and this and
yeah,
that.
sure.
There's no doubt about it. He's going to put all these things once again. Sure, I'll do peace, but you got to give me this and that. And Zelensky will say no.
Well, part of what we learned here, if you remember back to 2022, the impression was, oh, Russia has a big, big army. Well, they've been there for 3 years and they have a sliver. So then Europe probably looked and thought, oh, well, this guy's not really as powerful as he says. So how is he going to attack everybody else? They're going to go into Poland and this and that. They can't even conquer the corner of Ukraine. Sorry, I mean, I'm sorry. Because one thing about the American army, if they go in somewhere with boots on the ground, they're going to take it. Now, they may not be able to hold it peacefully because it's very hard to hold anybody peacefully. But to me, in the past, at least, I don't know what they're like now, but in the past, they seemed a lot more together than, this Putin army is pretty much a joke. I mean,
It's a joke. Those
it's
poor
so
guys, they
embarrassing
don't
to
even
go
want to
in.
be out there. They don't want to
Yeah,
fight out there.
no.
Did you see my prediction about Assad was true? And what, mark my words, he's going to end up dead. When Assad left, when it got taken over, and he went to stay in Russia with his $3 billion, I said, uh, Putin has his eye on that money, and he's going to assassinate Assad. Assad just got out of the hospital for an assassination attempt with poisoning.
What's the guy's name? Is it?
Assad, Assad.
You know the first name?
No.
Assad, Bashar al-Assad. Oh, that's the Syrian guy. Okay,
Yeah, I
right.
predicted that they're going to assassinate him. Watch. It's not going to be comfortable in Russia. They're going to want his money and they're going to get rid of him.
Let me see if I have him in my database. If not, I can put him
And
in.
even his
He's
wife wanted to go back to the UK because that's where she originally came. And the UK said, hell no.
huh. He's
If you don't
September
have him, that's
11th.
fine. He was that horrible man that poisoned those poor children and stuff. Yeah. He's got his coming. But I said this on a prediction. I said they either succeed or they're going to attempt to assassinate Assad. So we were talking about Bolton,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
you were saying his chart is a little more complicated.
Well, okay. So Bolton, first thing would be Bolton would be the first phase. He's got Saturn pressure into the sort of just before the spring, like March. So if he can clear the deck by then, it's possible, then he's home free. If we reach the February March period and he's still stuck, then it could extend another couple of years. Because his problem is more complicated than Letitia James and James Comey
Yeah.
because
Well,
it
they have
involves
nothing on them, but with him, they got into that detail of having things on his personal email. The same thing they went after Hillary Clinton for, and the same thing the whole Trump family did. They had everything on their email, personal email, and put their noses up at America when we said, "Wait a second. Why do you guys have use your personal email and then you're hounding Hillary Clinton?" And they just didn't answer us.
right. Well, and the thing, I mean, Bolton, I think I was telling you this that he's got. I mean, right now for sure he's a very late Scorpio, so that Uranus cycle clears in spring. Actually, when I said okay, I got to take that back. It might be into the spring, like
Okay.
maybe as far as April, and by then the Saturn is switched signs. So, but the problem, and it's an unknown. He has a Cancer moon, but I don't know where the Cancer moon is based on his birth time. So it could be anywhere from 12 to, so basically 12 to 18 degrees. I would say it might drag all the way into 2027 if things go wrong. But I think the guy, even though he's a total war hawk, and nobody used to like this guy back in the day, we used to
No.
think about John Bolton, but now like now John Bolton and Dick Cheney are up, and their popularity is way up. So Bolton, though, he may be unsavory, but he's not stupid. So I doubt that he did something so illegal that he's going to get
So
into big
egregious.
trouble.
Yeah.
Nah, it's unlikely.
But
But
I tell you, Letitia James, I mean, you looked at their chart, Letitia James, and I'm not a fan of Comey, but I feel them I almost feel Comey's trial, or he won't even have a trial. I almost feel like the judge is going to say malicious, whatever, malicious something.
yeah, well, his actually, if you were ranking them in order of you know evidence, or his is the thinnest. The thinnest.
Yeah.
Letitia would be second, and Bolton is the third. Like there's more there. Hers is a joke. It's something to do with she did a minor adjustment where she changed their house from a second residence to she started renting it, and that meant she would have to adapt the mortgage in some way. So now she's making an extra $50 a month. So I mean, whatever. So
It's going
but
to get
then
tossed
they're,
out.
they're trying to say, yeah, but $50 a month is $19,000 over the course of the mortgage, 30 years, right? Sure, like Trump scams,
Oh,
$19,000 in
gosh.
crypto
Yeah.
every 20 minutes. I mean, it's so ridiculous.
So, but he just hates her so much. He wants her down. Oh, you
Sure.
know who's going to win is that what's his name in New York? He's going to win as the mayor. I saw that clearly.
Mamdani?
Yeah, he's going to win.
Yeah, he actually, the reason I'm holding out on him for now is that his chart, if someone came in with a really good chart, it's just that uh, what's his name, Cuomo's isn't good either. So then that way Mamdani can win, right? But if someone
Right.
came in, that could be a chart you could defeat because it's
When
not
is the voting? Is it this November?
November. Yeah,
Okay.
November is when it is. Yeah, so
So, and Letitia James looks okay too.
yeah, Letitia James, but more threat of complications than Comey for sure.
Okay.
Because she's got, especially in the near term, there's Pluto, there's Saturn. When you see those two roaming around, you always have to be cautious no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my feeling is they're going to do everything they can to drag it out because even if they eventually lose, like the way Trump works, you have to understand this guy. He just wants it to be in the news. If it's in the news, he can massage the message, right? But if something disappears, then that's the final statement, and that's not good. So he'll tell his lawyers, appeal, like go all the way to the Supreme Court, do whatever it takes to keep the negativity in the news.
Right.
That's the
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah. So what other things have you been focusing on that caught your eye?
Well, we just waiting for Trump to keel over, but we can't be wishing for that.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, I'm not concerned in the sense that first of all, I know it's in a declining pattern from the near term and from the 26 and 27 into 28. I mean, the whole
Yeah,
time.
26, you've always been very clear. 26 seems to be the magic number.
That's right, but it extends. It keeps going, right? So, and the thing is, this is where in astrology you see double duty because if you see a planet, it can be doing more than one thing. Like, for example, the tariffs are now coming up because the Saturn was there in the spring, it's come back now. And this was always the logic. Many people said when you get to the end of the year, people are going to start noticing the problem more and more, including the MAGA people, because they're always trying to tell their people, oh, no, everything is fine. Not when you're looking at the price tags. It's obvious, right, that things are going up. So,
Oh,
but
he just was telling her the price of gas is $2. Eggs are never been cheaper. He's so full of it.
he'll say all kinds of things. But the point is that there's that, and then there is the same planet is doing the health thing, at the same time. So that's why a period isn't just one thing. It's several things, but the most dangerous thing to him is by far is the health decline. Even if maybe he doesn't keel over, but if he doesn't keel over like completely, then he is the absolute face of it in the 26 midterms. And that Saturn is locked in. And that's the one thing. You have Saturn locked in at the time of an election. Even if you're good, you have a major problem winning that. It's a major
Okay.
problem. In fact, I would say your chances become like zero, literally. It's too hard, to win.
Well, we're coming on. We only got 3 months left in the year. And let's see, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. He's got 8 months and he's going to be 80.
Yeah, which isn't always there. 80-year-olds, like look at Bernie. He doesn't look, he looks fine at
He
80.
did have a heart attack, though.
He
Yeah.
did, that's true. But even so, there are 80-year-olds, but he's not one of them. He's definitely, the late 70s, 80, when you do what he does. I was listening today to a thing, it wasn't a long explanation, but really caught my ear. The person was saying that one of the worst things you can do if you want to avoid dementia, right? If you want to avoid your brain just downtrending badly, is stay away from those fake sugars like aspartame and what they put in
Oh, he
aspartame in,
drinks Diet
and
Coke.
yeah, they mix a lot of Diet Coke, and that the person was explaining because it causes a lot of free radicals, and I mean maybe he's counterbalancing it in some way, but I mean, he's showing those signs. I mean, this guy for years has been getting worse and worse. If you don't believe me, go just look online and play Trump in 2006, 2007, he talked totally different than he talks today
Oh, I
because he had
know,
more
I know.
words, more, right?
You know, my
So,
mom was a Diet Coke freak and she got dementia towards the end.
well, it's not a good thing because the thing is in the price for that feeling, the receptors is that the cells in the body are getting attacked by that stuff because it tries to clear that and it causes, the person explained it in an ultra scientific way, saying you get a steady cascade where eventually there's neural damage literally to the body, right? So this is just, it's something that society has to correct because, you go to Costco and you try to buy like whey protein. They don't sell you whey protein, just whey protein, like nothing in it. You look at the ingredients, whey protein is one ingredient, and then there are 100 other ingredients. At the very bottom, it'll say sucralose. That's the one, like sucralose slash Splenda and aspartame were the worst for destroying your nerves, basically. Like you become,
What's
you
in
know,
Diet Coke? It's a sucralose.
uh, I think they might be using this other one called acesulfam, but same idea. Like anything that is triggering that receptor is dangerous. Whereas they said things like stevia and monk fruit, they didn't find the same correlation. So those, at least on that account, are safer, right?
Right.
So, but we know that Trump, I mean, he's got the little button and then he's drinking, 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 which is what keeps him up. But I mean, think about that, right? If I drink Diet Coke, if I started right now popping Diet Coke, it would probably take, because I haven't done this strategy, right? I might last 2 or 3 years. If anything, people would go, wow, this guy's really hopped up. He's like really there. Trump doesn't have much of that anymore. He's doing
No,
the
he's
Diet
not
Coke, and a lot of the
hopped.
times,
But didn't he used to do that drug? He chopped it up and snorted it like Coke.
oh, you mean Adderall? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another one. Yeah, well, that's another one that again, you're hyping the system. There's nothing for free, If you
No.
if you get an effect, like there's that song, that group from I think they were in the 70s, 80s, Alan Parsons Project, and the song goes, "What goes up must come
Must
down."
come down. Yeah.
It's totally true,
It's
So
totally true. Yeah.
nothing for free. So I mean,
So
yeah,
any good
and
news on Miller right now? Is he getting ready to crash and burn or do we still
no,
gotta wait till
no,
26?
Miller, we have to wait, and I'll tell you why. Because Miller, this is something he shares with Tulsi Gabbard. They both have this progression. You can scan when you look at your chart, a program will tell you this, or you have to look in the ephemeris, otherwise you won't know. So you scan to see if the days that you see that the stations are happening. So if you see Jupiter, which is for him at the age of 40, which is what he is now, roughly 40, 41, Gabbard is more like 44, 45. They're in a Jupiter very strong period, so they have a lot of power. So his really is like a slow downtrend going into the next election. But okay, next year though, just next year is not easy for him because he does have major Saturn pressure. So within that, he's going to be pressured. Which, by the way, this is the other thing people have to realize, right? Because you can start to believe only the Democrats are upset. That's not true. We're upset because we're worried that about all kinds of things. Maybe they're going to use the military. Maybe they're going to take away Social Security. But the other side is upset because their policies are so unpopular. They see a lot of pushback. And so they're constantly angry and they're saying things. And you tell me, when did you ever hear the government in charge, including Republicans, saying the Democrats are all terrorists and they're all
Yeah.
insurrectionists and the No Kings protests is being paid for by George Soros? I think they're a little upset. I think they're panicked because they know that the more grassroots protests progress, the more trouble they're going to be
Well,
in.
yeah, and their phones are blowing up because people are saying, dude, I'm losing my job. How my insurance is going to go through the roof. How could
That
you
too.
be for this?
That too. No, 100%.
Oh, my friend Lisa, she said, are they going to use the nuke or there's something they call like a nuclear where they just vote for it and they don't need the majority, they just vote for it. There's something they can do. I can't remember what she called it,
I
but
think the nuclear option, yeah.
the nuclear,
But
but listen, this is what my hit. You tell me what you think. At first I thought, well, why haven't they done that already? And then I realized they can't because if they do the nuclear option, that means we're back on track. Not really, but everything's done. And that means the new congresswoman gets sworn in, and then we're going to open up the Epstein files. They like this because they can close the Epstein files.
Right. And also if you nuclear option and you pass it as is, you totally own the fact that those premiums are going to skyrocket and people will see that. So they're caught between a rock and a hard place. And as far as the Epstein files, I don't think he's done for that. There's no way. By the way, we're going to get the clue is going to be in January, because January, the same planet that's stationed in July that brought them up is back in another station. So more energy is coming in. I don't know what it is, but he looks totally guilty. Everything that's come out, and including that the estate put out that, that thing with the that came out of the estate, which is how I learned about Epstein's birth time, because it wasn't known. It turned out that it was in there, and Ghislaine Maxwell confirmed it by saying, no, it was 6:15 a.m. And so that's the chart that I started to use, right? So
wow.
Information is flowing, and that's a completely toxic thing. And that's definitely in his chart as this major karmic thing that he's run into. Which, by the way, happens a lot to people, because people often will say, if you're doing all these bad things, they don't pay. They just go to the afterlife. Yes, maybe, but I see much more frequently as a person is reaching the end of their life, they lose their mojo, and then the karma just comes rushing in, and things that they've done before come into the foreground. And this one is really tough because now he's got the Democrats against him and the MAGA people. A lot of them are saying, we want this released. I think it's like 70+% or 75.
Yeah, and Sawell talked on one of those social media things, and he said, look, I've got 10 Republicans right now who have personally contacted me, and he doesn't release the emails, of course, and have said, listen, the minute those Epstein files come out, I can back away from this SOB. I'm free to come out of him, and then I can vote how I want, because they're all stuck with Trump. But once those Epstein files come out, it's like it's a whole new world. Then that's when people will treat him like, ew.
Yeah, well, see, this is the thing where, look, I mean, I'm putting the astrology to a test, but I see this all the time, including in my own chart. You really can't get around your cycles. When they're there, they're there. You just have to deal with them. And one of the things that is really obvious in his chart is the Saturn is going like as of end of February, like mid-February, right? It switches permanently into Aries for like 2+ years after that. That zone covers all the places. It covers international affairs, legal affairs. Are you starting to get the idea that, and the legality of the whole thing with the Epstein thing, because it hits from there, it hits into the house of hidden affairs and stuff like that. So I don't see a way out. And it includes, interestingly, right, his health for sure, because the Saturn rules his health house. So that Saturn always carries that energy, right? It's in the health house. It lives in the hospital house, and it rules the health house. That's a health planet. But it also covers the issue with Epstein, because it's in a zone where, together with the Eris, right, the two of them are hitting. So more than one pattern is taking place. And yes, the final one, which happened to him in the other administration too. You remember when he was in his first term, back then Saturn was in Capricorn, right, which is another cardinal sign. He doesn't like those. So back then, people started to turn against him slowly. Like for instance, he loses the election, and that Krebs guy goes, no, it was the most secure election in history. He hits the roof, fires the guy. Like he couldn't keep them in the corral. The same thing is going to happen next year and the year after, because the Saturn rules the people that work for him, his servants, right? So expect more and more of that, people bailing on him. And that's very problematic, right? When you're in charge, because you can't keep people, supporting you. So yes, what you're saying about how in Congress, for example, we should see more and more, and, the whole thing splintering more and more. It's massive. But we need to wait, right? And the thing is, remember we were saying this in March this year, You gotta wait. Oh, people would say we can't wait. If we wait, we'll be done for. Well, now we're almost there, right?
We're
We're
almost there. We only
six
got a
months
few
later. I
more.
mean,
We're halfway through October, and before you know it,
yeah,
it'll be November.
yeah. Time marches on, and you know, patience. Even
And
though,
God bless Gavin Newsom for getting uh, the diabetic medicine. He's gotten it for $11.
yeah, that guy, by the way, Newsom. It's a fascinating astrology in that if he can get to 2027 and he's still viable, like something hasn't, because right now it gets challenging. Next year and half of 27, he's on his second Saturn return. He's a Libra, so it opposes him. He's got to survive that. He's got to not, really step in it or have some horrible thing come out. But even so, like let's say, for example, that's what did happen, right? Like I don't know, they find out that he's still with Kimberly Gargoyle or whatever.
Oh no, no,
No,
that'll
he's
never.
not.
But
I
go
know.
ahead.
I'm
But go
I'm just
ahead.
making a joke, right? But then I have to answer. Then I would have to wonder, well, why is his chart so great? Early November of 2028. My first thought is because he becomes the president, right? Otherwise, he'd be really happy for some other reason, I guess. But he's
Yeah.
got the lead up, like from 27 and all the way into early 29, a lot of Jupiter in the perfect place.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
even if people, in fact, a lot of the pundits say, "Oh, Newsom," I just saw this today. In fact, in the New York Times, there's this guy that he's mostly really annoying. This guy Brett Stevens, one of these guys that claims to be some big intellectual. He just gets on my nerves most of the time. And he was saying, "Oh, Newsom, he's because California has this problem or the other problem." He's well known and he's making himself well known and he looks like a president and his communication skills are really strong. And
And
that's
he can tell Trump to eat it.
that exactly. And that's always a winning combination, and
Yeah,
so, but anyways, I mean, I'm just talking about the astrology here, right? Because the
right.
astrology is really strong in 2028. Because it could be like, for example, if you said to me, the election is next year, no, then he's not going to win. I would probably
Okay.
say it's too
Okay.
complicated because it's opposed. No, then that's the penance he has to do to
Right.
basically to get there. Yeah.
Well, I talked about this on my show. I did get an email from someone who's very learned, knew the Constitution, told me all the stuff that we've been saying that if he's a traitor, Trump's a traitor, it removes everyone, and it doesn't. Yeah, they can be removed from Congress, but that's the only way all his me, I see the Nuremberg trials and I know that's a done deal. But she said that information is not correct. I know I read it somewhere that if a president is found to be a traitor, then everything he put in place has to be removed. I'll have to look that up. So then they also said this person's a trans. Um, yeah, that Gavin Newsom is not very good. He's just been focused on being president, and that's his only focus. And well, yeah, I know Theodore Franklin D. Roosevelt focused on being president. He was a good president. John Kennedy had to fall into it because his brother Joe was dead. But I said, well, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. And he was the first mayor to say, hey, it's okay, gays can get married, although the Supreme Court turned it over. But at least he did that.
Hmm.
And she said, yeah, that was part of his focus to being president. And I thought, well, geez, he knew that way back when he was mayor.
Nah, I mean, it's a little bit. I think people sometimes, everything is black and white, but it's not.
Yeah, well, she's trans and she didn't like, I guess he made some sort of comment about the sports thing.
Yeah, but again, people can be doing more than, people always want to be black and white. Like he's trying to be president. He's trying to be president and he's the governor of California and he's challenging Trump and he's punching back on the redistricting. He's doing a lot of things at the same
Yeah,
time. You don't just do one thing. Of course, he wants to be
yeah,
president. And I think, deservedly, in my opinion, to each his own. Everybody can agree or disagree,
right.
right?
But I
But
even asked this person, so So who do you think can win? That's going to open up the whole trans thing and make everything hunky dory. Who do you think would be the person that could beat, anybody else? And I don't think I don't know. I don't know. Now I can't get into my email. So
Well, and I mean, the thing is that this is the other thing that trans or any other issue, the the
it's a
perfect is
hard
the
issue to get through.
it is, but you have to realize the perfect is the enemy of the good. You can get sometimes more limited rights. You may not get everything that you want. You may not, for
No.
example, there may be an improvement in the treatment of trans, but they may not get to play sports, for
And
example.
they've definitely come up more so just like women. Women couldn't vote.
Right. Well,
Blacks. But
yeah.
thanks to civil rights.
And by the way, that's another thing. That's another really interesting thing that it reminds me that I've got to make another video on this because it's a really powerful thing. When planets get discovered, right, as humanity finds a planet, which doesn't happen that often, like Uranus 1782, Neptune 1843, and then Pluto 1930. And then the kingpin is Eris because it bumped Pluto in 2005, right? That planet, Eris, is the myth of it is it's a woman that is representing those that have been left behind. So what has happened since then? It's such an obvious thing. And back in the 2000s, you started to see all these movies with black presidents, women, captains of starships. So it's moving in that direction. It's
It's moving in
unstoppable.
Yeah.
But but it can take a while. Like, for example, back in 1930, Pluto is nuclear power, and people were trying. You can't stop nuclear power; it's impossible. Once it got discovered, in one way or another, it becomes part of the human fabric. Right now, the same thing is happening, but it may not happen right away. Like when people look in history, they'll say, "Oh yeah, in the early 21st century, women started to have a lot more rights. Trans people, there was this thing that people that were left behind, gay marriage only came in 2010, right? That's when
Yeah.
or 2011. So, when you're in history, when you look back, you go, oh yeah, that was that zone. When you're living in it, you get, you're thinking, why don't they got to give it to me right now? Hold on, because it is coming. It's like the Epstein files. Just relax.
Yeah, it's going to
It's
happen.
moving, it's moving in the right direction. Yeah,
Just know
exactly.
that we've got what Uranus and Gatorade right now.
Yeah, you're innocent Gatorade. Yeah, no, you talk about Mercury. We were saying earlier how you were having all these problems, and I said, and Mercury is
Oh,
not even Gatorade, but it will be in November. It's another planet that there are all these stations in November, and one of them, Mercury goes retrograde next month. It does
okay.
does that 21 day, like for 3 weeks. But I mean, people make way too much of that because the world doesn't stop during Mercury retrograde, and not
And it's
every
not
operation.
technically really a retrograde. They call it that, but the planets don't go reverse.
No, they don't. But okay, like it is astrologically, it's retrograde. But people have this idea that I can do nothing on Mercury retrograde. No, you could. The only way would be if the planet, when it's retrograde, happens to be for you, for your chart, complicated in some way. Maybe you then don't do a surgery or something like that.
Right.
But
Right.
otherwise, it's fine. There's no problem. No. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, do we have any other things that we didn't cover? Any burning issues?
No, I think we're good. We've been on for a while now.
All right. Well, we'll continue soon. You know, hopefully, like maybe early next month. What do you? I heard you say that you thought your hit is that the government shutdown should
What's
it
going
should
to probably the end, either the very end of this month or the beginning of next week, or of the first week of November.
November. So it still has a ways to go, but like maybe a couple of weeks, right? Because we're on the
Yeah,
17th
it
now.
is going to be one of the longest. It's going to be one of the long. He doesn't care. Trump says, just let him keep it down. I'll just fire everybody. He's
Yeah.
so ugly. But they're going to get a lot of pushback, not only from this march tomorrow, but there's going to be a lot of pushback about what um, they're doing to all these civilians. You can't hurt people like that and then expect them to just sit there and take it like all those people in office do. All those congressmen
No.
sitting there bowing to their master. No, you got the farmers coming out, you got people coming out saying, no, if I can't feed my kids and I can't get any insurance to when they're sick, what that listen, these men say, what do I have to lose? There's trouble coming. It's brewing. And it's not fighting other people, it's fighting him.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. That's totally true, and it's his
That's like
playbook.
what's his name? Pete
Hedgehog.
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 He comes in with this cocky attitude towards generals, and he's a Fox News commentator, and
Mm.
he's being disrespectful. Let me tell you, I talked to a lot of men in the military. I used to really, but back in the days of Fleet Week. But anyway, I'm going to tell you, these guys will figure out something to screw him over. Don't be surprised that at the end of the game, if this guy doesn't go out feet first, it could be the military or some big event takes place where they drag him out of there.
Well, look, the potential aspects are there, 100%, and we already covered the fact that that's exactly what's happening already. Because the reason he's panicked and trying to get signatures and things like that is because they're leaking like crazy. Apparently, he can't control. In other words, it'd be like you have a team and you don't know who's doing it, and people just
Yeah.
sort of deny. It's a problem. So yeah, no, for sure, I agree 100%. No,
Well, thank you, my friend. I'll tell Julie and Dennis you said hey.
yeah, thank you, thank you. All right, we'll say goodbye for now. Bye, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone.